Hello, everyone. I am Lisbeth. Today, I have Turid with me. Hello, Turid.
Hello.
So, just before we start, we're going to talk about barking today. And Turid is not going to have a PowerPoint. We're just going to talk about barking. Barking is sometimes a problem, more for the owners, obviously, and the surroundings than for the dogs, because it's a natural way of communicating. So welcome to it, and thank you for showing up on short notice. This is something we just, decided a couple of hours ago.
That's okay. It's a topic that I know quite well, since I have been writing a book about it. I should know it quite well. And it's a very interesting topic, actually, because people usually don't think about it as something you can listen to and get information from. Because it is a kind of language and it can tell you a lot. So in the book, I describe several different types of barking and how you can figure it out, what kind of barking it is and what to do about it. And I'm not going to talk so much about that. But it's just as you said, Lisbeth, barking is mostly a problem for people. Barking goes on their nerves very often, and they can't stand dogs barking. And I think it is only because they don't think about that it's actually a way of speaking. And instead of getting irritable, we have to find out why is the dog doing it and what is he actually trying to communicate. And that's, if people can just have that in mind, they can find out in different ways. Among other things, they can use a book because the recipes for it is quite easy, I think, anyway. And you can find out a lot by listening and looking.
And the thing is, Turid, that it's not even a problem for me if Wilma is barking. But the problem is if she's barking at nighttime when the neighbors are sleeping.
Yes.
And because we do want to keep kind of a friendly relationship with the neighbor, at least the closest ones.
Well, okay.
So that's why we have to adjust this to living together as a community.
Sure. And when a dog is barking in appropriate ways at appropriate hours and so on, of course we have to do something about it. But on the other hand, we also have to try to find out why. Because there's always a reason. Dogs do not say anything with body language or barking or anything without any reason behind it. That's a good thing about animals. When they say something, they have something to say and they mean it and they are honest. So it's up to us to try to figure out what it really is about. And that's why I thought I should mention one kind of barking that you don't see so very often, but some of the people listening might have been into it at some point. Dogs who are taken for a walk and is barking constantly the whole time you're out with them. And other dogs, they bark constantly when you are taking them to some kind of training. They start when you come there and they bark the whole time till you leave. And I know many people have wondered what on earth that is about. And I have had many, many, many dogs for training up through the years. And when I recently got another client with that problem, I sat down and compared with all the ones I've had before. And I'm absolutely sure in most cases, in all the cases I know, at least, that kind of barking is a clear message of a dog in severe pain. He will do as you ask him, and he will try his best, but he has such pain that it has to come out somewhere. And that is something we have to think about.
And now you were talking about dogs who are kind of hysterically barking a lot, not just...
Well, only when they are, for instance, moving. They can be quiet at home, but when you start walking them, they bark through the whole walk. Or when you go to a training place, they bark the whole time. You can, for instance, I have noticed in some places, particularly where they train police dogs and military dogs, quite a few of those dogs during training sessions, they bark constantly. And that has a real reason, because they are really hard trained, and they, with 100% sureness, they have pain. And the pain can be many different things. It can be, for instance, in one case, I had a dog who had anal gland infection so badly that she had to be operated. It was really, really bad. And it was so painful for her to walk with that infection. And other dogs have had joint pain. And others, again, have had neck pain, back pain, and whatever. Stomach pain. It can be so many things, even headache. And so this is something we have to be aware of when we see or hear about it. You can find it in training places very often.
Because what is difficult is to see, like Denise is writing here as well, didn't think of a connection between barking and pain. Exactly. But because these dogs are also can be showing signals that we misinterpret then as being signals of being happy, like jumping a lot while they're barking, just
wagging tails. Wagging tails is typical, because they very often wag tails to try to soothe you and ask for help. Wagging is not always happiness at all. They can wag their tails vigorously when they ask for help.
So what do you do if you, what would be the first thing you would do?
If you spot a dog like that, the first thing you have to do is to have the dog checked properly by a physiotherapist, a vet, not only a vet, because vets very rarely see anything. They saw the anal gland infection because that was quite obvious, but many other things they don't see. So I would have the dog checked by a vet, maybe 2 vets, a physiotherapist, and whatever. I wouldn't give up, because I would know that the dog was ailing something and needs some kind of help. It can be toothache. It can be so many things, because dogs, they suffer from exactly the same things as we do, and maybe a few in addition.
So how can you see, so you can never be sure if the dog is just happy to be there, or let's say you take the dog into a car and you go somewhere where you usually train with your dog, and your dog is barking on the way to the training area. You open the door, he's going absolutely crazy barking when you come out, and it's difficult for him to calm down.
I think myself, I will probably see the difference, because if a dog is in the car going to some place, he knows it will be fun. It will be for just happiness. We're going to have fun. But if it goes on when you are doing something, when he's together with other dogs, when he's moving, when you try to do something with him, that's when I would really look at it.
Yeah.
because it's painful. It's painful to move. I would say the same. I sit here with a foot and I get grumpy and I swear a lot when I try to walk a bit.
Yeah. And I remember last year with my leg. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
What percentage of those dogs are experiencing stress?
Yeah, because when a dog has pain, he's also stressed. Stress is just a symptom. Stress is a symptom that something is wrong, and it's very often pain or fear or something. So, or something that's too much for him. So a dog will be stressed in that situation. Of course he will.
Yeah. In your experience, Turid, apart from that, what is the most common problems people are complaining to you about when it comes to barking and behavior they don't want?
9 out of 10 is complaining about their dog barking at the people and dogs when they are out walking. That's the number one, definitely.
So passing other dogs. No, we're not now talking about
or seeing them. They're seeing them at a distance. Yeah.
And in your experience, why are they doing that? What is there are many reasons. Can you tell us a few?
I can.
I know
because this is something I've been working so much with. And one of them, I would say number one is that people start correcting them in some way. No, jerk at the leash, sit, shut up, go here, do that. And of course, that is exactly what we call attention for a behavior. And that's the same as rewarding it. So the dog actually learns to do it because of the reactions of the owners.
So no matter if your voice is really angry and you try to be really strict, the dog can see this as a rewarding behavior, right?
Oh, yes.
Because we're acting to their behavior.
Yeah, because dogs learn by association, as we know. And the fact is, I've seen it happen. I've seen the moment it happened. The dog is looking at a person and the owner says, no. And the dog, I saw the face of the dog getting scared. So the no from the owner meant that the person he looked at was dangerous. And so next time you had to bark even more.
Yeah. So, well, obviously then you should stop talking and stop rewarding that behavior.
Yes, definitely.
And increase the distance maybe, or do something else.
Oh yes, we have to learn to curve. We have to learn to go slower so the dog doesn't get so stressed by fast walking. That's one of the biggest stressors in dogs' lives, when people walk so fast that they just have to go to follow. And then he get more and more stressed during the walk, and of course he will bark because that's a symptom of him being stressed.
Yeah. How can we identify the type of frustration a dog is experiencing?
Well, that's a question. You have to dig into it. That's one of our, we who are working with the problem behavior, that's what we are doing, digging into it to try to find what it is about. Dog owners can also try to do that, but of course it might in some cases be easier for someone outside to see where the problems actually lie.
It is actually for everyone, for me as well, you know, because I don't see the whole picture myself sometimes with my own dogs. It's always good. Like detective work, isn't it? You love doing that.
Oh, I love it. That's the best in my life, to dig into really difficult questions.
What is the best way to react to your dog when she becomes frustrated? usually during training, and she starts barking at you?
Well, in that case, I would stop training right away, because that dog is frustrated by the training or the way the training is being done or whatever. And I wouldn't do it. If I had a dog like that, well, it happened once. I got the reaction from my dog and I just stopped it. There was no point. We could do something else that she liked and could do.
So basically stop the training, do something else, like, you know, going for a nice slow walk on a long leash, just get out
Yeah.
of there. Kind of, yeah.
And then if you were training obedience, for instance, don't do that. Do something else. Do nose work or whatever on earth you want to do, but do not continue with that kind of training that is frustrating the dog. It might be physically discomfortable, because there are many dogs who feel pain and discomfort by, for instance, sitting and lying down. You can see the way they are doing it, sitting down, getting up, and so on. It's quite easy, actually. And it can be other things. For instance, training a dog for retrieve, and the dog actually turns out to have a broken tooth.
Mm.
That happens. And so you must believe what the dog is saying. And if a dog is frustrated and try to tell you, I don't want to do this anymore, you should respect that in your dog and just stop it and do something else.
And that is why you brave people, you are asking questions in the chat and you really get, you know, a clear answer from Turid. But seriously, this is why it's so, so important to observe our dogs and get to
Yes.
know. And I speak from experience. I thought I knew that my dogs, but then I didn't when I come to learn, you know, how they are naturally trying to communicate with us. And believe me, they are trying a lot. So you need to read the book on talking terms with dogs by Turid, and probably the barking book as well, Turid, Barking the Sound of a
Yes.
Language.
I think it's quite good recipes in there for how to handle different situations and what to do about it. And at least it will start you, make you start thinking about it.
Yeah. Why the dogs howl when they hear specific sounds like sirens, bells, music, etc. Is it stressful for dogs?
Howling is a very, what shall we say, useful and good way of communicating. You can actually compare howling to using your mobile phone. You reach people in the next city instead of the one you are standing beside. So the howling is meant to communicate with someone away. I've seen some very interesting examples of that. As you know, wolves howl more than they bark. Dogs howl maybe less, but all dogs can howl, even if they don't do it so much anymore. That can be because they live so close into people. I know that dogs who have been lost, I had one in the hills behind my farm that was totally lost up there, and he was howling to try to tell somebody that he needed help. Howling is something to communicate with others at a distance. They howl when they are alone at home and afraid. They will howl to call the owners back. Males will howl to communicate with females in heat. I had a dog who did that very effectively also.
And puppies definitely howl if they're home alone and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and they. I know some of you might have seen the film about the 101 Dalmatians. A very charming and very unrealistic film, but there are a couple of gems in there. And one of them is in the beginning that when all the dogs in the neighborhood all around, they howl to each other. And everybody thinks that is so cute. Well, cute and cute, it's really how they can do it. And it has happened in real life many times.
That specific sounds, like if your dog starts howling when it hears sirens or bells or even music, a lot of dogs are howling when they hear music.
It's because the frequency is close to some kind of howling. And you know something? Dogs respond to howling whether they want it or not. They just respond to it. It's such an efficient way of calling others. Wolves, for instance, when a young wolf is leaving the pack to go out and make his own pack, he is walking into the forest and starting howling to call a mate. That's the first thing he will do. And he will get one. If there's a wolf somewhere within ear distance, they will meet.
So if your dog let's say you live in a big city and your dog is howling when he hears certain sounds, is that something that you should try and avoid him to do, or should you just ignore him?
Yeah, it can be a problem sometimes if they are, for instance, if you are living beside a train railroad, and the whistle from the trains very often start them howling, because that sound has some frequency that triggers the howling. So I don't know if it's possible to cover it up in some way. I'm not sure. Can be quite difficult, actually. Maybe you have to move somewhere else. I was at the Wolf Park in the US once, when we were sitting in the evening and it all was quiet, and then there was a train passing a kilometer away, and we could hear the coyotes in the fields howling to the train, and the wolves started, and it was a howling concert. And they did it every time that train used the whistle.
Yeah.
A young dog who barks at people or dogs at a walk. He is excited, and you are too close. You have to learn to, if a dog is like that for a period, you have to learn to curve. And you must never try to take his attention away from what he's barking at. He must be able to look. If you try to make him look somewhere else, you will only make him more upset, and he might end up being nervous about it or angry at them in the end. Young dogs, you do walk them in places where you have space to walk. You have to plan your walks. I know that is a word nobody likes. They don't like to plan their walks, but you have to. That's part of bringing up a dog from puppy to adult. They need space, so they don't need to feel they are getting into some kind of trouble. They must be allowed to look. You mustn't drag him with you. If he wants to stand looking, just let him do that. And of course, you have to learn to curve. We who are working with dogs, we get it in our bones. When I go down the street and I meet someone with or without a dog, I curve, because that's what I have done for a lifetime, and I still do it. Dogs do it always. You should always curve a little and tell the other dog you meet that you are polite. So planning, curving, distance, Don't try to take the attention away from what you see. On the contrary, the best is if they can look and 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 get wiser. As soon as the leash is tight, the dog gets alert right away. And also, if you walk too fast, he will much easier get upset by meeting people or other dogs. It's stressful for a dog to be walked fast. If you let your dog go sniffing and relaxing and moving along slowly, the chances are much less that he gets upset by seeing things. A dog lunging at somebody or someone, he is trying to scare it away. And that means you are too close. And this again gets back to the basic. You have to plan. When you know your dog is doing this, you have to start planning where to go so you can walk at such a distance that he doesn't need to lunge and try to scare away somebody.
Yeah. Could howling be an indication of pain when related to sound?
It might. We don't really know, but it might, of course. And I would maybe I would think it was if the dog is sitting in a small room and you are playing an instrument of some kind, which will be really bad for that dog. They hear 4 to 10 times better than we, and loud piano or fiddle louds or whatever, it can be painful to us also if it's in a very small closed room. And for the dog, it must, well, I think it must be painful.
But there is a lot of videos out there, Turid, of dogs that are howling when people are playing the piano or other instruments or singing, you know, that it's made like fun videos on TikToks and everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but it can also be learned behaviors, right?
Yeah, it can, of course. It can.
So
I
it's
doubt
about seeing the whole picture. Always see the whole picture. Yeah.
And people are very good at rewarding behaviors that we should not reward. They give a lot of attention for it and ha 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 and look at that and all kind of things, which will make dogs do things they naturally wouldn't. So we always have to keep that in mind as well.
And then when they do it later, because you've been rewarding them for it, and they do it when you don't think it's appropriate, for example, at nighttime when you're trying to sleep, then of course it's a bit confusing for the dog as well.
Yeah.
Maybe we can discuss a bit male barking on males on leash. How to behave in the city when one can't avoid male dogs on leash and can't move to another place.
Well, you have to go back to the reasons again. If your dog is barking when he's on leash and not when he's off leash, you can think yourself what that means. Something is not right when he is on leash. And that can be many things. It can be that you walk with a tight leash. It can be you have a too short leash. It can be you walk too fast, drag him with you. It can be so many things. And if you use a collar at the top of it, that will have a much stronger effect also on the dog. So maybe you have to look at how you can learn to walk the dog a better way. Maybe you have, I usually tell people in the beginning, they start doing something about these problems. If it's possible, put the dog in the car. If there's really tight around where you live, and go somewhere else. It might be just 5 minutes away. Find a place where there is room around you, the space for the dog. that would be much better. For a period, I did that for 2 months with one of the dogs I took in. And if you have to, you have to. You take the job that's necessary. And also, usually if the dog doesn't want to move, it's because you are too slow in curving, because we are taller than the dogs. We see what is coming before the dog, and you always have to make advantage of that. You see something moving, you curve before the dog actually see it. That's one thing. Another thing is that well, you know, you have to plan, as you say. That's really important. If the dog then stops as you cannot move him, don't drag him. Don't use treats. Don't try to make him go with you. Don't force him to sit or anything. That's all just nonsense. It won't help anything. So what I would do then, if you were really unlucky and got into a situation where the dog stands there and will not move, I just gently grab hold of the harness on top of the back. There's a lovely little handle there you can hold on to, and you just hold it gently, and you stand there beside the dog. For some reason, when the dog feels that you hold the harness, he usually calms down.
So you don't do anything, and when the situation is over, should you give him treats? And I know
No.
I'm asking.
No.
No.
No, you just stand there quietly and hold the harness, say nothing, do nothing, and sooner or later that other one will pass and go away, and then you can calmly walk your way again.
Yeah.
Gosh, I've done this a lot of times.
Okay, thank you. But in general, we do get a lot of questions. What is my dog thinking? Why is he doing that? And this is what I learned from you as well, Turid. In the beginning, when I started working as a dog trainer, I thought I had to have the answer to everything. So I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And then the more I watched you, the more I realized, because your answer is always, I don't know what your dog is thinking.
I can't.
No,
I don't know what you are thinking.
But we can make more qualified guesses.
Yes.
If we observe them, if we get to know them better, right?
Yes. And that is why I always tell people, observe, 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 observe. The more you observe, the more you learn. And because I have done this for so many years now, I know that is something you never get tired of. I still observe dogs and enjoy it.
Yeah. I want to ask you about humping. So it's not really about barking to it. Do you want to
continue? That's a typical thing for dogs that are stressed and have not had appropriate social skills learned. So if it's an adult dog doing it, you should start doing things a different way. And the only way to get away with this is to take away the stressors in the dog's life, because there must be some. You have to look at what you are doing with the dog, how the dog's life is, and you have to take away stressors. And the next thing is to take away from the dog the possibility to hump. And he should be together with other dogs, but you start by taking social walks with other dogs on leash, so they can be quite close to each other, read each other, have the joy of being together, but they cannot be on each other. And if you do it like that, you take away the possibility for him to hump, and you teach him another way of being. And because all dogs are social at heart, he will learn to be.
Thank you, Turid. And I think that's very helpful advice for a lot of us, because, yeah, humping is a very misunderstood behavior as well.
An adult dog doesn't really invite to play. He might do it very briefly to a very young dog for a few seconds, but adult dogs don't usually play. They are adult, they have adult ways, they have adult responsibilities. So if a dog is using a play bow, I would look at what he's actually doing.
Yeah. Okay. How long do I let my dog to watch? My dog can sit and watch others for half an hour straight. So if you meet or pass someone and he's reacting, how long should you let him sit and watch?
Not sit, just let them watch. And
if the dog sits down by himself, by his
okay,
own choice.
but if the dog is sitting watching, I would let him sit and watch.
Okay, that's the answer. Yeah. Barking and lunging, can those behaviors be redirected to scent to calm them down?
Not to calm them down, but it can be a redirected behavior because they are really pissed off with the owner or something else.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be because he feels really bad.
So it depends on the situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I must say that in many cases, unfortunately, it's because the owner is misbehaving.
Yeah. I'm sorry, there were just... Sorry, Turid, can you bear with us for 5 more minutes? Difference between frustration and excitement and fear and insecurity. When the dog is lunging, barking on leash, these behaviors look very similar. What signs are you looking for to see the difference between them?
A dog lunging is trying to scare someone away. And if you want to scare someone away, what do you think is most typical then? The dog doesn't want the other close. Maybe he is fearful of him, or he feels uncomfortable with having someone so close for various reasons, but he wants the other one to go away. Directly lunging forward has nothing to do with anything else but trying to get them away. If you are looking at dogs being excited and happy, you will see totally different behavior. The dog will jump up and down, spin around, do all kind of funny things, but he won't lunge, not in that way.
Okay, that's very helpful. I think, yeah, a lot of us can learn good things from that. So less is more, right? That's the takeaway from this lesson. Less is more. There is one last question I would like you to answer, Turid, because it's relevant for a lot of dog owners. My dog barks at airplanes that leave white traces on the sky and hot air balloons. She shows stress signs in her body, and usually I'm trying to distract her from that. But sometimes it takes her time to disconnect. How can I help my dog in these moments?
The first thing I would do was to teach and start to use and teach myself to use the hand signal. That's the absolutely first. And then you use a hand signal in all the situations where you tell the dog that you are taking responsibility of what's going on. And in cases like that, so when there is an airplane coming, I would, in the end, when you have managed to be good at using the hand signal, I would use it for that kind of behavior.
And if you don't know what the hand signal is, Linda, Turid's daughter, actually, she has a very good lecture in the recordings. So if you go to videos, you scroll you scroll down and you can see
My toy, my new toy.
what is it? What is it? You're doing the hand signal with this one. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much. So thank you very much, Turid, and everyone. Okay.
Thank you. Hope I was okay answering your questions, and good
You
luck.
you were very good today, Turid. You weren't too
Thank you.
strict.
Okay.
Okay, everyone.
care.
Bye. Bye.